They chose my brother and said I was the useless son until I bought their house. Now they're homeless. I never imagined I'd be sharing something like this, but here I am at 2 a.m. still trying to process what just happened at my parents' home. Fair warning, this is going to be a long one. For context, I'm Alex 26M, and I have an older brother, Ethan 30M, who's always been the favorite. Growing up, everything I did was somehow wrong, while Ethan could do no wrong. I left university to start working not because I was failing, but because I saw a chance to learn a trade and start earning real money. My parents never let me forget how much of a letdown that decision was. Last night started off normally. My mom texted, asking me to come over for dinner, saying they had important family matters to discuss. I should have known something was up when Ethan's fancy car was already parked in the driveway as I pulled up in my work van. The tension was immediate. Ethan was sitting there with that smug grin I've known since childhood, while my parents wore their usual fake serious expressions, the kind they put on when they're about to deliver some wisdom. Dinner was quiet, just the clinking of forks and Ethan making snide remarks about my dusty work boots. Sorry for coming straight from a job site, I muttered. Then my dad cleared his throat and dropped the bomb. We've been thinking about the future, he began, avoiding eye contact, about our legacy and who we can trust to handle it responsibly. I kept eating my mashed potatoes, already knowing where this was headed. Ethan has proven himself. My mom chimed in. He's responsible, successful, and knows how to manage money properly. Every word felt like a jab at me. We've decided to make some changes to our will, that house our savings, everything will go to Ethan. Ethan's face lit up like he'd just won the lottery. It's for the best, little brother. We all know you're just wasting time on your little projects. The way he said it made years of hard work sound like a childish hobby. I set down my fork. And what about me? My dad exploded. What about you? What have you done to deserve anything? No degree, no real career, just manual labor like some nobody. He waved his hand dismissively. You're useless to this family's future. The room fell silent. Ethan's smirk widened. Here's the thing. 10 years ago, that would have crushed me, but I've built something for myself. I run my own business now, with contracts lined up and a team that respects me. I looked at my rough hands, then at Ethan's perfectly manicured ones, and something inside me snapped. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. Fine. My mom looked confused. That's all you have to say? Yeah, fine. You want Ethan to have everything. Go ahead. But remember this moment. I locked eyes with each of them. Remember you chose this. Ethan laughed. Are you trying to be dramatic? What are you going to do, go cry in your van? I grabbed my keys. No, Ethan. I'm going to show you exactly how useless I am. You want everything. Congratulations. It's all yours, including their problems. My dad started yelling about respect. My mom was crying about family duty, and Ethan was making some comment about me being jealous. I just walked out, got in my van, and drove off. I blocked their numbers before I even hit the highway. That was 3 months ago. Since then, my phone's been flooded with messages from relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins, all telling me to make peace and think about your poor parents. Yesterday I got a voicemail from my mom. They're in deep trouble. Turns out Ethan isn't as responsible as they thought. I saved that voicemail. Something tells me I'll want to remember exactly how they sound when they're begging for help. If there's interest, I'll update when the inevitable explosion happens. For now, I'm focused on growing my business and watching karma do its thing. Update 1. It's been about 8 months since my last post about my parents calling me useless and leaving everything to Ethan. A lot has happened, and honestly, I'm still processing it all. Last Tuesday, I was having coffee at my usual diner before work, scrolling through my phone, when I got a massive text from my mom. I nearly spit out my coffee reading it. Apparently, they're being evicted from their house, the same house I grew up in, the one they promised to Ethan. The message was full of, "We made a terrible mistake. You were always the responsible one. And, please help us. We don't know what to do." I ignored it. 10 minutes later, my dad started calling. Then Ethan. Then my mom again. I blocked them all and finished my coffee. But curiosity got the better of me, so I did some digging. Turns out Ethan convinced them to refinance the house to invest in some amazing real estate opportunity he had lined up. He promised to triple their money in 6 months. Yeah, you can guess how that worked out. The market crashed, and Ethan lost everything, their money, his clients' money, the whole thing. Now, the bank is foreclosing on my parents' house. The best part, while I was at the diner, Ethan showed up, just walked in like he owned the place. He was wearing those fake designer sunglasses he loves so much, trying to look important. "Alex, you have to help them," he said, sliding into my booth uninvited. "They're your parents, like I'm their useless son." Oh my God, are you still hung up on that? Grow up. They made a mistake. We all make mistakes. I looked him dead in the eye. You're right, they did make a mistake. Several. Actually, trusting you was their biggest one. He started crying, the fake kind, with perfectly falling tears that don't mess up his face. "They'll be homeless, Alex. Is that what you want? To see your own parents on the street?" I pulled out my phone and showed him the screenshots I'd saved from last year, the family group chat where they all ganged up on me. The messages calling me useless, his own texts bragging about the house. You know what's funny, Ethan? While you were playing real estate mogul with their retirement, I was actually learning the business I know exactly how much their house is worth. I know about the liens. I know about the foreclosure auction next month. His face went pale. What are you talking about? I'm talking about karma, bro. I've got the cash to buy that house at auction. And guess what? I'm going to... He exploded. Started screaming right there in the diner about how I was vindictive. How family should help family. How I was destroying our parents' lives. The manager had to ask him to leave. Later that day, my parents showed up at my apartment. Dad was red-faced, yelling about how I was no son of his. Mom was crying, begging me to reconsider. I just stood there, letting them vent. Finally, Dad ran out of steam. In the silence, I said, "Remember when you told me I'd never amount to anything? That I was useless compared to Ethan? Well, look at us now. I'm the one with savings. I'm the one who can afford to buy your house. Funny how life works out, isn't it?" Mom tried to hug me. I stepped back. "I'll see you at the auction," I said, and closed the door. The auction is in 3 weeks. I've already got my financing lined up. Ethan's been spreading rumors about me in the family, saying I'm heartless, that I'm destroying our parents out of spite. Maybe he's right about the spite part. But you know what? I'm done being the bigger person. They're still blowing up my phone. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone's got an opinion. Most are on their side, saying I should help. A few get it though. My cousin Jake called yesterday and said it's about time someone stood up to them. The best part, Ethan's amazing investment scheme is falling apart. Turns out, he wasn't just playing with our parents' money. Other clients are starting to ask questions. His broker license is under review. Karma really is something. I know buying their house might seem cold, but after everything, the years of favoritism, the insults, the manipulation, I just want them to understand what they threw away. I'm not their useless son anymore. I'm the guy who's going to own their house. I'll update after the auction. Ethan's already threatening to expose me, whatever that means. Should be interesting. Update 2. Hey everyone. A lot of you have been asking for an update, so here it is. Grab your popcorn, because karma has arrived, and she's delivering justice in the most satisfying way. Quick recap. My parents called me useless and left everything to my brother, Ethan. I walked away and built my own life. They lost everything because Ethan's schemes backfired. Now, they're all facing the consequences of their choices. The foreclosure auction was yesterday. Guess who now owns my parents' house? That's right, me, the useless son. They tossed aside. The look on Ethan's face when I walked in and started bidding was priceless. He tried to outbid me but couldn't even come close. Turns out, his credit is completely ruined, and none of his so-called business contacts would touch him with a 10-foot pole. My parents were there too. My mom started wailing in the middle of the auction. "That's our house. You can't do this to us." My dad tried to grab my arm and talk sense into me. I just looked him dead in the eye and said, "Sorry, I'm just a useless son doing useless things." The auctioneer had to threaten to call security to get them to back off. Ethan cornered me in the parking lot afterward. He was screaming about how I was destroying the family, and how mom was having anxiety attacks because of me. I just pulled out my phone and played the recording from last year's dinner where he laughed while my parents told me I was useless. He shut up real quick. "Remember when you said I'd never amount to anything, Ethan? Look who's living in their car now." That's right, he's been sleeping in his sedan for the past week. His girlfriend Lisa kicked him out after finding out he'd maxed out her credit cards. All his real estate empire was built on lies and other people's money, and now it's all gone. My parents are living in a rundown one-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of town. My dad tried to play the family card yesterday, showed up at my office unannounced. "We raised you better than this," he said. I just laughed and asked if he meant the part where they taught me to step on people or the part where they taught me that family means nothing when money's involved. The best part? My girlfriend, Clara, works at the bank where Ethan had his accounts. Totally legally, she'll let me know that he's been bouncing checks left and right. His former clients are coming after him for the deposits he mismanaged. He's drowning in debt and legal trouble. I hired a property management company to handle the eviction process. They're giving my family 30 days to get out. Ethan's been calling me non-stop, leaving voicemails about how they'll be homeless. I just keep forwarding them to my new email folder labeled Karma. My mom showed up at my house last night, crying about how they've learned their lesson. She brought my old childhood photos, trying to guilt trip me. I opened the door, took one look at the photos, and dumped them in the recycling bin right in front of her. "Should have thought about these memories before you threw me away," I said, and shut the door in her face. The house, I'm going to renovate it and rent it out. Every month, when they drive by and see other people living in their dream home, they'll remember their choices. Ethan's already been spotted crying in his car outside the house twice. Clara thinks I'm being too harsh. Maybe I am, but you know what? They spent years teaching me that I was useless, that nothing I did would ever be good enough. Now, they get to live with the consequences of that lesson. Here's the kicker. I just found out through the grapevine that Ethan's been telling people I manipulated and cheated them out of their house. Classic. He still can't accept that his own actions led to this. My dad's apparently drinking heavily, and my mom's posting passive-aggressive quotes on Facebook about ungrateful children. The family split down the middle. My Aunt Marie, mom's sister, called to tell me I'm evil for making my parents homeless. I reminded her about the time she watched mom throw my university acceptance letter in the trash because trade school is good enough for people like you. She hung up on me. But my cousin Jake, he showed up with a six-pack and helped me change the locks on the house. Said he's been waiting years for Ethan to get what's coming to him. The property management company tells me they'll be out by the end of the month. I'm having security cameras installed tomorrow. Part of me hopes they try something stupid. The other part knows they're too broken to even try. I should feel bad. I know I should. But every time I drive past that house, every time I see Ethan's sedan parked outside some cheap motel, every time mom's number shows up on my phone, I just remember that dinner. I remember them laughing. I remember Ethan's smirk, and I smile. Final update. It's been a wild month since my last update. I figured you all deserve to know how this story finally ends. Buckle up. Remember how I mentioned Ethan was trying to salvage his reputation? Well, desperation makes people do stupid things. Last Tuesday, I'm at home watching TV with Clara when my phone starts blowing up. Not just Ethan, my parents, all sending dramatic "we need to talk now" messages. I ignored them at first, but then Clara, scrolling through Instagram, goes, Alex, you need to see this. Ethan had posted this long, tear-jerking story about how his cruel brother was destroying the family, complete with crying selfies and old family photos. He tagged me in it and started this whole hashtag campaign about family reconciliation. The comments were wild. All these people who had no clue what really happened were sending me hate messages. Ethan even got some local Facebook groups involved. Real classy. But here's where they messed up. They showed up at my house, all three of them. Ethan was filming on his phone, clearly hoping to catch some dramatic confrontation for social media. My dad was doing his usual intimidating stance act, and my mom was already fake crying. I almost didn't answer the door, but you know what? I was done hiding. I opened it and just stood there, blocking the entrance. Ethan immediately started with his script. We're here to heal our family. Why are you being so cruel? We just want to talk. I looked straight into his phone and said, Ethan, remember that email you sent me last year? The one where you bragged about manipulating mom and dad into signing over their house. The one where you literally wrote, they're too stupid to realize what they signed. I still have that. The phone lowered real quick. Then I turned to my parents. And that contract you signed with Ethan last year, the one he said was just routine paperwork for the house. I had my lawyer friend look at it. You didn't just sign over the house, you signed on as guarantors for all his failed investments. That's why your credit is destroyed. That's why you can't even rent a decent place now. Your precious golden child screwed you over, not me. Ethan tried to interrupt, but I wasn't done. You want to talk about family? Okay, let's talk. Let's talk about how I offered to help you fix the roof last year. But you said my construction work wasn't good enough for your precious house. Now you're living in that rundown apartment because Ethan's professional contractor friend did such a great job that the new owners had to gut the whole top floor. My mom started with the real tears now. We made a mistake. We're your parents. No, I said. You made a series of choices. Every time you chose Ethan over me. Every time you belittled my work. Every time you called me useless. Those weren't mistakes. They were choices. And now you're living with the consequences. My dad tried to step forward. Bad move. I'm not that scrawny kid anymore. 6 years of construction work changes a man. He must have seen something in my eyes because he stepped right back. Here's what's going to happen, I said. Ethan, you're going to delete that Instagram post and all your little hashtag campaign. Mom, Dad, you're going to stop telling people I abandoned the family, because if you don't, I'll post every screenshot, every email, every legal document showing exactly how Ethan played you. Your choice. Ethan deleted everything before they even left my driveway. The best part, that house they're so bitter about me buying. I just signed the papers to sell it to a lovely young family. Made a nice profit, too. Yeah, I could have kept it as a rental, made them watch someone else live in their dream home. But I realized something. I don't need that kind of reminder in my life. Clara and I are using the money as a down payment on our own place, something that's never had their toxic energy in it. Something that's just ours. Ethan, last I heard, he's working at a mall kiosk. My parents are still in that crappy apartment. Sometimes, karma does its job better than any revenge could. Life's pretty good now. Clara and I are talking about getting married next spring. My business is thriving. And most importantly, I sleep just fine at night, knowing I didn't have to destroy them. They did that all on their own. I just refuse to be their safety net. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more interesting stories happening around you.